In the farthest ring of the Orion Archive Cluster, where star systems grew quiet and even light felt older, stood a structure that was not a museum, not a fortress, and not a temple, yet carried the weight of all three. It was called the Galaxial Library of Lumen-9. To most of the galaxy it was a peaceful place, a repository of knowledge, a sanctuary of history, a neutral zone protected by ancient treaties signed by civilizations that no longer existed. And guarding its entrance was a human. His name was Jonas Vale. To every passing diplomat, scholar, and alien historian, Jonas looked harmless, soft-spoken, slow-moving, always polite. He spent most of his time organizing data scrolls, maintaining holographic archives, and guiding visitors through vast halls of floating memory crystals. He smiled often, he spoke little, and he never carried a weapon, at least none anyone could see. 1. The peaceful guard. Jonas Vale was not what the galaxy expected from a guardian. The Librarian Council once described him as a decorative species assigned to ceremonial security. The Velmori archivists called him a librarian with no known combat potential. Even the automated defense systems classified him as non-threatening biological entity, and Jonas never corrected them, because correction required attention. And attention was dangerous in places like Lumen-9. The library itself was larger than most moons, its interior a labyrinth of shifting corridors that adapted to the minds of its visitors. Entire wars were recorded here, entire civilizations preserved in crystalline memory. Some knowledge was forbidden, some was erased, and some was locked so deeply that even the library pretended it no longer existed. Jonas knew where those sections were, but he never spoke about them. 2. The Forgotten Vault. Deep beneath the visible archives lay a sector that did not appear on any map. Not even the library's own AI acknowledged it directly. It was called the Null Vault, a sealed repository containing artifacts too dangerous, too unstable, or too reality-altering to be studied openly. Weapons that didn't just destroy matter but rewrote probability. Devices that could collapse entire timelines. Technologies that had been used once, and then buried because no civilization survived using them twice. Jonas Vale had access to it, not because he was powerful, but because he was trusted. And trust in ancient systems was often a mistake carried forward through time. 3. The day the silence broke. It began with a disturbance in Sector 12. At first, it seemed like nothing unusual. Visiting scholars often triggered alarms when interacting with sensitive archives. But then the library's lights shifted. Not emergency red, not security blue, something else. Pale fading white, the kind of light that meant system uncertainty. Jonas felt it before the alarms registered. A vibration in the floor, a subtle distortion in the air, like reality had briefly forgotten how to stay consistent. His communicator blinked. Unknown breach detected. Null Vault access attempt. Jonas stopped walking. That had never happened before. Not in recorded memory. Not in any preserved timeline. He exhaled slowly. Of course it's today, he muttered. And for the first time in centuries, Jonas Vale stopped looking like a librarian. 4. The intruders. They were called the Krivax Remnants. A war-splinter faction believed to be extinct after the collapse of 7 systems. They weren't supposed to exist. But history had a habit of lying when it was incomplete. They had come for one thing, the Null Vault arsenal. Because buried inside Lumen-9 were weapons capable of restarting their lost empire. Not rebuilding it, restarting it, from nothing. And they had found a way in, or at least, part of a way. What they did not expect was resistance. Because in a place like this, resistance should not exist. Especially not in the form of a quiet human man adjusting his archive gloves before walking toward the breach. 5. The man who walked into war. Jonas moved through the shifting corridors of the library without urgency. The architecture bent around him, responding to his clearance codes. Walls dissolved into passageways. Light rearranged itself to guide him. To any observer, he looked like a man heading to fix a broken shelf. Not a man heading toward a breach in reality containment. He passed by floating archives of extinct languages. By suspended memory spheres containing dead emperors. By entire wars recorded in looping holographic time. And he did not stop. Because none of that mattered right now. What mattered was the Null Vault. And what was inside it. 6. The weapon that should not exist. At the center of the Null Vault was a containment pedestal. And on it rested an object that looked deceptively simple. A thin metallic rod. No inscriptions. No glow. No visible power source. But every system around it avoided direct analysis. As if looking too closely would make it real in ways reality could not handle. This was the Echo Key. A weapon that did not destroy matter. It erased causal permission for things to exist. Entire fleets had been deleted from probability using it once. After that, it was sealed away. And Jonas Vale was the last authorized human to ever interface with it. He stood before it now, while alarms screamed through the library behind him. 7. The truth about Jonas Vale. The Krivax intruders finally reached the vault chamber moments later. They entered in full combat formation. Armor reinforced. Weapons charged. Confidence absolute. And they froze when they saw him, a single human, standing calmly beside the most dangerous artifact in recorded history. One of them spoke through a distorted voice modulator. You are a librarian. Jonas glanced at them. Yes. You are not security. No. You are not armed. Jonas tilted his head slightly. I suppose that depends on your definition. The Krivax leader stepped forward. Move aside. We will secure the weapon. Jonas looked at the Echo Key, then back at them. You don't understand what that is. The leader laughed. We understand power. Jonas sighed softly. That's the problem. 8. The vault remembers. One of the Krivax fired. Not at Jonas. At the containment systems. A mistake. The library reacted instantly. Not violently. Not defensively. But historically. The walls shimmered. And for a brief moment, the chamber was no longer in the present. It was in every moment where violence had ever occurred within its boundaries. Echoes of extinct wars overlapped reality. Jonas closed his eyes. Please don't make me clean this again, he whispered. He reached toward the pedestal and placed his hand on the echo key. The library went silent. Not physically, but conceptually. Even the intruders felt it. Pause in causality. 9. The peaceful man stops being peaceful. Jonas did not raise the weapon. He did not activate it fully. He simply acknowledged it. And that was enough. The echo key responded. Not as a tool, but as a memory of violence remembering it had once been used. The Krivax weapons flickered. Their targeting systems lost alignment with probability. Armor systems misfired internally. Their formation collapsed without a single physical strike. One by one they dropped to their knees. Not dead, not injured, just removed from correct possibility. The leader struggled to speak. What are you? Jonas looked at them. For the first time his voice was not soft. It's easier if you think I'm just a librarian. 10. After the breach, when the Galactic Archivist Council arrived, they found the Null Vault sealed again. The intruders contained. The breach erased from active timelines. And Jonas Vale sitting at his desk in Sector 1, repairing a broken archive projector. One of the council members approached cautiously. We detected echo key activation. Jonas didn't look up. False positive. That is impossible. Jonas finally glanced at them. Then update your definition of impossible. Pause. The council member lowered their voice. You used it. Jonas resumed fixing the projector. I returned it to silence, he said. That's not the same thing. 11. The library continues to breathe. The Galaxial Library of Lumen-9 remained peaceful after that day. Visitors continued to arrive. Scholars continued to study. Time continued to flow unevenly through its halls. And Jonas Vale continued his work. Polite, quiet, unassuming. But somewhere deep beneath the floors of knowledge and history, the echo key remained aware. Waiting, not for violence, but for permission. And the galaxy, unknowingly, continued to trust a man who had once held the ability to delete reality itself, and chose instead to keep shelving books. Because in the end, the most dangerous thing in the universe was not power. It was the decision not to use it.